Welcome again to another Cheapwinefinder.com podcast. It's a companion podcast to a review we wrote up on the Cheapwinefinder.com website. And we do it all the time. We just talk about affordable wines. And this is a time of year, it's like 2.5 months till New Year's, where we start to go a little bit upscale because it kind of fitting. There starts to be get-togethers and celebrations, and why we don't go all the way up. Today we're doing the La Crema Sonoma Coast Chardonnay 2021. It's an estate Chardonnay from the Sonoma Coast. Sonoma Coast runs from the San Pablo Bay, like Oakland, all the way up to Mendocino. It just covers the coast, that whole stretch. And it's not all that far from the Russian River AVA. I mean, it actually overlaps here and there, but it's full of coastal mountains and valleys and all sorts of things. It's been 2021 was a drought year, but usually you get tons of rain, you get fog, you get heat, you get all sorts of things going on. In 2021, it was a drought year, but they had frost early on. They had heat spikes in the summer, and I think normally harvest is late September, and this time it was August. But it did make for some decent Chardonnay. Maybe not the elite kind of Chardonnay that you would put away for 20 years or that type of thing, but having it heat spike and making the flavors bold and delicious is not a bad idea. And this is a wine I found for $15. In that range, a little bit of heat's not the worst thing, but it always has that cool morning fog, so the heat never kicks in that much, and then at night it cools down. Sonoma Coast is an elite place for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay with other grapes too. And La Crema's whole thing is Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and they have wines in Oregon, Willamette Valley, and I think 6 or 7 AVAs in California. So that's what they specialize in. And they're part of the Jackson family of wines. And by Jackson family, think Kendall Jackson. Kendall Jackson Chardonnay, their $12 Chardonnay, has been the number one selling Chardonnay for like decades. So they know their Chardonnay. I mean, you can like their style or not, but because they're so popular for so long, a lot of people copy it. So it's kind of everywhere. And this is a really good wine. We'll take a sip and we'll talk about it. It's kind of a taste of Sonoma Coast. There's like 7 or 8 different estate vineyards they used. They didn't even give an exact number, it's including these. And then they used about 10 or more different Chardonnay grape clones. And the Wente clone is used like 60% of the time out there, but this is 10 different ones. So what they're doing is giving you a taste of their vineyards. That's not a bad thing. And I'll explain why, it's from everywhere. I mean, it's not everywhere, but it's from 7 different vineyards or more. It's from different clones. I talked to a Barolo winery owner one time, and I might have told the story before, but Barolo is the Nebbiolo grape, and it's the king of red wines in Italy, which is saying something because Italy is full of wines and red wines and everything. And his estate, and this is one of the better, some of the most elite Barolo vineyards, and he has 2 wineries. He has two vineyards, and he always makes 2 single vineyard wines, one from this one from that one. And the cream of the crop is where he blends everything together, where he takes different lots from each of the vineyard, and it's painstaking how they do it. And they try to make the very best wine. It's a wine that shows the expression of his land, of his vineyards. And they doesn't sell. The single vineyard ones sell because everybody thinks single vineyard's better. And that's one of the weird things, because the vineyard, that's viticulture or horticulture. The fermentation process in the winery, that's science. But the blending, that's art. I mean, there's no book that tells you how to make it taste perfect and get exactly what you want. So when you see blends, maybe the guy doesn't blend too good. Maybe the guy blends really well. But blending's where it's at when it comes to wine. And this wine's not cheap. It's $15. It probably costs more when it's not on sale. And when you start blending that, that's something to look for. That's something that's really good. So when you see like, oh, it's some of this, some of that. Somebody took the time to put it all together. And I'm going to talk about this now, and I'm going to take another sip. It's 7 months in the oak. They had malolactic fermentation. It was fermented in oak. It's aged in oak, but it's not oaky. It has a little bit of cream to it. It has a little bit of butter to it, a little bit, but it's mostly round fruit and citrus. It's got a lot of flavor, but it's subtle. It's nothing over the top, nothing great. This is one of those wines. Like some wines are sip and forget. They're just fun to drink. Oh, that tastes good, and you start talking. This is a wine that you owe it to yourself to maybe, you know how you take the first sip, and I'm going to do it right now. You kind of spritz it all over your palate, and then you go, what is that? This is a wine that you should do that to for at least the first few tips, and then you can sip and forget after you go, oh, I'm getting a little bit of pineapple. I'm getting a little bit of this. One thing I didn't get, because it was aged on lees for 7 months, that usually gives you that nutty, salty sensation, which I kind of like, and I didn't get that, even though it was on lees. So there's different things going on, and it tastes really delicious. And it's, there's a lot of good $12 Chardonnays, so $3 more, does that make a difference? And yeah, it can if you think it does. I mean, everything's personal preference, but I like the subtlety and the length and the flavors. Citrus and fruit, and there's a little bit of spice here and there. Yeah, it's got tons of flavor. It's a nice wine. So if you're looking for a nice Chardonnay, this would be a good Thanksgiving wine, because there are harvest flavors there. So that's it for me. It was Domaine Dave, La Crema Sonoma Coast Chardonnay 2021. I liked it. Most of the wines I hear I like, because I'm the one picking the wines. I don't pick wines I don't like. So that's it for me, Domaine Dave from Cheapwinefinder.com. I've got a South African sparkling wine coming up, and a zombie wine, but that's in a couple of days or so. So adios, goodbye, keep it cheap, and I'll be talking to you.